Mia's mother, Laura, froze when she saw the tiny pink sneaker hanging from the dog's mouth. Her hands trembled as she grabbed it, whispering, "Mia, where are you?" She knew her daughter never wandered off alone, especially not into the forest that bordered their backyard. That place carried stories of people getting lost, of strange lights flickering between the trees at night. Laura never believed in those tales until now. Heart-pounding, she called the police, but the response shattered her hope. "Ma'am, we're dealing with a traffic accident on the highway. It might take hours before a unit can get to you." Hours? Her little girl had been missing for minutes, and already it felt like a lifetime. Laura's throat closed. She couldn't wait. She rushed inside, grabbed a flashlight, and without thinking twice, followed the dog back toward the woods. The beam of light bounced over the twisted branches, each shadow making her heart skip. "Mia," she shouted, voice echoing into the darkness. Only the crunch of her footsteps answered back. And then a sound, faint, almost swallowed by the night. A whimper. Laura stopped breathing for a moment. "Mia," she screamed. Her legs carried her faster, branches whipping her arms, until she stumbled into a small clearing. There, lying near a fallen log, was Mia's backpack, torn open, school books scattered across the damp ground. Laura dropped to her knees, clutching the bag to her chest. Her eyes scanned the ground, searching for footprints. She saw them. Tiny marks pressed into the mud, but they weren't alone. Larger prints, heavy and deep, led in the same direction. Someone, or something, had been there with her daughter. Laura's voice cracked as she whispered to herself, "Oh, God, someone took her." The dog barked furiously at the trail ahead, fur bristling, teeth showing. It was as if he knew danger was close. Laura hesitated. She was just one woman, unarmed, terrified. But could she really turn back now? Could she leave her daughter in the hands of a stranger, hiding somewhere in the dark? She tightened her grip on the flashlight, wiped her tears, and whispered, "Hold on, baby. Mommy's coming." With the dog at her side, she stepped deeper into the forest, following the prints that seemed to vanish into the shadows. But little did Laura know, the deeper she went, the closer she was walking into a trap. The forest swallowed Laura whole. The deeper she walked, the heavier the silence became. Even the crickets seemed to hush, as though the woods themselves were holding their breath. The beam of her flashlight flickered across tree trunks scarred with strange carvings, symbols she didn't recognize. A shiver ran through her spine, but she pushed forward, whispering Mia's name with every step. The dog trotted ahead, nose to the ground, barking sharply whenever the trail grew faint. Laura clutched Mia's backpack tighter, almost as if holding it would give her daughter strength wherever she was. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence, a low snap of twigs close by. Laura froze. Her light darted left, right, then locked onto a shape between the trees. For a heartbeat, she thought it was Mia. But no, a man stood there, half hidden in shadow. His clothes were torn, his face pale, eyes gleaming unnaturally in the beam of her light. Laura's throat dried up. "Where's my daughter?" she demanded, voice trembling but fierce. The man didn't answer. He simply stared, then turned and bolted into the darkness. The dog exploded in a frenzy, pulling forward. Laura hesitated. Chasing a stranger could be suicide. But the dog was insistent, and deep down she knew this man was connected to Mia's disappearance. She ran. Branches clawed at her arms. Roots tried to trip her, but adrenaline kept her upright. Her flashlight swung wildly, casting dizzying beams until she caught a glimpse of something ahead, a small cabin hidden deep in the woods. Its windows glowed faintly, as if someone had lit candles inside. Her stomach twisted. What was a cabin doing here, in the middle of nowhere? As she crept closer, Laura heard it. A muffled cry. Her blood froze. That was Mia's voice. She sprinted to the door, heart in her throat. It was locked. She pounded with her fists, shouting, "Mia, Mommy's here." The crying inside grew louder, more frantic. Before she could think of what to do next, a cold hand gripped her shoulder. She spun around. It was the same man she had seen earlier. His face was gaunt, eyes wild, and in his other hand he held something shiny, a knife. "Leave her," he hissed. "She doesn't belong to you." Laura's mind reeled. "What are you talking about? She's my daughter." He shook his head violently, muttering words she didn't understand, as if repeating a chant. The dog snarled and lunged, forcing him to step back. Laura took the chance to grab a rock from the ground and swung it with all her strength. It connected with his arm, sending the knife flying into the dirt. He screamed, clutching his arm, but his eyes burned with something darker than pain, obsession, madness, maybe even devotion to some belief Laura couldn't comprehend. "Mia!" Laura shouted again, ramming her shoulder against the cabin door. It creaked, but didn't budge. Behind her, the man recovered, blood dripping from his forearm. He picked up the knife again, his voice breaking into a growl. "You'll never take her back. She was chosen." Laura's breath caught. Chosen? For what? She didn't have time to process. The door behind her rattled as Mia cried louder. She had to get in now, but as the man stepped closer, knife raised, Laura realized something terrifying. She wasn't just fighting to save her daughter's life. She was fighting to uncover a secret far bigger than she ever imagined. The man's shadow loomed larger in the beam of Laura's flashlight. Every step he took sent her heart racing faster. His knife glistened under the pale moonlight, and his muttering grew louder, more unhinged. Chosen for the offering," he hissed. Laura's knees buckled. Offering? What kind of nightmare had she stumbled into? She forced her voice to rise above the terror in her chest. "She's a child. My child. You're not taking her anywhere." The man's eyes twitched as if her words triggered something buried deep. For a moment, he seemed lost in his own head, whispering to someone who wasn't there. That hesitation gave Laura her chance. She tightened her grip on the flashlight and swung it hard across his temple. The crack echoed in the forest. He staggered backward, dropping the knife again. The dog pounced, snarling, holding him down just long enough for Laura to shove her shoulder into the cabin door once more. This time it burst open. "MIA!" she cried, rushing inside. The dim candlelight flickered against wooden walls covered in strange symbols drawn with chalk and something darker. In the corner, tied to a chair, was Mia. Her face was streaked with tears, her little hands raw from struggling against the ropes. "Mommy!" she screamed, sobbing into Laura's chest as she rushed to free her. Laura's shaking fingers worked at the knots, finally breaking them loose. She hugged Mia so tightly it was as if she feared her daughter would vanish again. But before relief could fully sink in, footsteps pounded behind her. The man had forced the dog away and stumbled back into the cabin, blood running down his face. His eyes blazed with fury. "You don't understand," he shouted. "She's the only one who can stop it. If you take her, we're all doomed." Laura pulled Mia behind her. "You're sick. Stay away from us." The man raised the knife again, but the dog leapt forward, sinking teeth into his leg. He howled in pain and fell to the ground. Laura grabbed Mia's hand. "Run!" They bolted out of the cabin into the night, branches clawing at them as they sprinted through the forest. But the man's shouts echoed after them, chilling the air. "The offering cannot be stopped. The woods will take her back." Laura pushed Mia ahead, whispering encouragement. "Just a little more, baby. We're almost out." Her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she didn't dare stop. Suddenly, the ground gave way. Laura stumbled into a clearing and froze. Dozens of candles burned in a rough circle, surrounding a stone altar smeared with dark stains. Symbols carved into the rocks glowed faintly, as if alive. And worse, shadows shifted at the edge of the light, moving where no people stood. Mia whimpered, clutching Laura's hand. "Mommy, I don't like it here." "I know, sweetheart. We're leaving right now." But the dog growled low, his fur standing on end. Something was wrong. The air itself seemed heavier, thicker. The forest, which had been silent before, now whispered with strange voices. Behind them, the man staggered into the clearing, laughing through the pain. Blood dripped down his face, but his knife was steady. "See? She was brought here for this." The forest called her. Laura stepped in front of Mia, her voice trembling but firm. "Over my dead body." The man's smile was chilling. "That can be arranged." As he advanced, the candles flickered wildly, and the shadows stretched longer, reaching toward Mia. Laura clutched her daughter tighter, realizing with horror that this wasn't just madness. Something else, something ancient, was alive in these woods. And if she didn't find a way out fast, the forest might claim them both. Laura's breath came in ragged gasps. The circle of candles around her, and Mia burned brighter, casting long shadows that writhed like living things. The air smelled of smoke and iron, and the whispers in the trees grew louder, almost like a chorus chanting words she couldn't understand. Mia clung to her waist, trembling. The man limped closer, dragging the knife through the dirt as if savoring the moment. His face was twisted with both pain and a kind of devotion, like someone carrying out a holy mission. "Don't you see?" he croaked. "She's the only one the forest accepts. If you stop this, we'll all pay the price." Laura shook her head violently. "She's my daughter. I don't care what you believe. You're not taking her." The man's laugh was hollow. "You think you're protecting her? You're not. You're dooming her. The forest chooses who stays and who leaves, and once it chooses, no one escapes." The dog barked furiously, circling Laura and Mia as if trying to shield them. Laura's heart pounded so loudly she could barely think. She had to get Mia out. But every direction she looked, the forest seemed endless, the shadows pressing in tighter. Then something shifted. The flames of the candles bent inward toward Mia, like they were bowing to her. Mia whimpered, hiding her face against Laura's chest. Laura felt it too, a strange pull like invisible hands tugging at her daughter. She tightened her arms around Mia. "No, you can't have her." The man lunged. Laura reacted without thinking. She kicked the knife from his hand, and it clattered across the stones. He roared and dove at her, knocking them both to the ground. Mia screamed, clutching at her mother's sleeve. The struggle was raw, desperate. Laura clawed at his face, pushed against his chest, but he was stronger. His hands wrapped around her throat, pressing down hard. Darkness crept at the edges of her vision. Then, out of nowhere, the dog hurled itself at him, jaws snapping. The man screamed as teeth sank into his shoulder. Laura gasped for air, shoving him off. She scrambled up, grabbed Mia's hand, and sprinted toward the gap in the circle of candles. But the moment she crossed the line, the ground trembled beneath her feet. A wind howled through the trees, extinguishing several flames. The whispers turned into a roar, words pounding in her skull. "She belongs to us." Mia stumbled, crying, "Mommy, I can't run anymore." Laura scooped her up despite the burning in her arms. She stumbled forward, desperate to escape, but when she looked back, the man was on his knees inside the circle, arms raised to the sky. He was chanting now, his voice cracking but determined. "You see? It won't let you go. It never lets anyone go." And then Laura saw them. Figures. Dozens of them, standing just beyond the candlelight. Pale faces, hollow eyes, bodies draped in tattered clothing. They weren't alive, or if they were, they weren't human anymore. Mia buried her face in her mother's shoulder. "Mommy, they're looking at me." Laura's stomach twisted. She wanted to scream, to collapse, but she forced her legs to keep moving. She broke into a clearing, and for the first time since entering the forest, she saw something familiar. The faint glow of her own house's back porch light in the distance. Relief surged until she realized Mia was no longer in her arms. Laura spun, heart-stopping. Mia stood a few feet behind her, frozen, her eyes glazed as if she were sleepwalking. The whispers swirled around her, beckoning. "Mia!" Laura screamed, rushing back. She grabbed her daughter's shoulders, shaking her. "Look at me. Stay with me." For a terrifying moment, Mia didn't blink. Then, slowly, her lips parted. In a voice that wasn't her own, she whispered, "Mommy, they say I have to stay." Laura's knees went weak. She clutched Mia tighter, sobbing. No, they're lying. You're coming home with me." The man's voice echoed from behind, weaker now but filled with grim certainty. "She was chosen, and nothing you do will change that. If you fight it, the forest will take you both." Laura's heart pounded. She was at a breaking point. Either she surrendered to whatever nightmare this was, or she defied it with everything she had left. She looked into Mia's eyes, those big, frightened eyes that were her whole world. And in that moment, Laura made her choice. She wasn't going to let the forest decide her daughter's fate. Laura pulled Mia into her arms and pressed her lips against her daughter's forehead. "Listen to me, baby. You're mine. You don't belong to the forest. You belong with me." The wind howled louder, as if furious at her defiance. The candles flared, then one by one began to sputter out. The man crawled forward on bloody hands, shouting through the storm, "You can't fight it. No one escapes." Laura ignored him. She closed her eyes and whispered fiercely into Mia's ear, "You're stronger than this. You hear me? You're stronger. Look at me. Say it, I'm going home." Mia's lips trembled. For a moment, Laura feared the forest had stolen her completely. But then, through the tears, Mia whispered, "I'm going home." The shadows shrieked. A deafening crack split the night as one of the trees fell across the circle of stones, scattering the last of the flames. The figures at the edge of the clearing dissolved into smoke, vanishing with the wind. Laura didn't waste another second. She grabbed Mia's hand and ran. Branches whipped at her, roots clawed her ankles, but the glow of the porch light grew brighter with every step. The dog barked furiously behind them, keeping whatever lingered at bay. And then they burst from the treeline, stumbling into the yard. The porch light washed over them like a blessing. For the first time in hours, Laura could breathe. She collapsed to her knees, hugging Mia so tightly it hurt. Behind them, the forest fell silent. No whispers, no shadows, just stillness. The man never emerged. Whether the forest claimed him or he chose to stay, Laura didn't know. She didn't want to. Mia clung to her, whispering over and over, "Don't let go, Mommy." "Never," Laura promised, rocking her gently. "I'll never let go." As dawn broke, Laura realized something chilling. The forest hadn't just wanted Mia, it had wanted to break her too. But she hadn't given in. She had fought back. And maybe that was the only reason they were both alive. That night, as Laura tucked Mia into bed, the little girl looked up at her with wide, tired eyes. "Mommy, what if it comes back for me?" Laura smoothed her hair and kissed her cheek. "Then I'll have to get through me first." She turned off the light, but as she closed the door, she couldn't help glancing at the dark line of trees swaying in the morning wind. The forest was still there, waiting, watching. But for now, Mia was safe.